What's going on, Internet? I'm Christopher Peterson, and you're listening to a Nerd EXP interview. Today I have the pleasure of hanging out with David D'Angelo, one of the
Hello.
one of the programmers at Yakub Games, to talk about Shovel Knight. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be here.
So, what is your design philosophy while creating games?
Oh boy, that's a big one.
We can try and bite-size that, I guess.
Yeah, at Yacht Club, I guess we want to create, games that are fun, that tug at your heartstrings, that have levity and charm, and pull from the sensibilities of older games generally, I guess. But not to say we don't want to create modern experiences, but that's sort of where our heart lies.
Yeah, and I think everybody I know who played Shovel Knight would say that you guys nailed it. That that philosophy shines throughout every part of that game.
Yeah, I hope so. Thanks for saying
that. Is there anything different about Shovel Knight? Maybe because it's your guys' own project or a passion project compared to the work you did at Way Forward?
It isn't tremendously different. It's sort of born out of the things we were doing at Way Forward. So, we were making a bunch of retro revivals and retro sequels and, that kind of thing, like A Boy and His Blob and Contra 4, and Double Dragon Neon. So we kept making these games based off, these 80s properties, and it always struck us as would be interesting to sort of start from the beginning. So that's where it came from. But I don't think what we're doing is is anything other than we created everything from scratch, right? We created the world, we created, the gameplay. Usually when you're making those retro games, you're trying to figure out what people would enjoy in that space from the the world that already exists there, right?
Yeah, you touched upon the gameplay. One thing that is really kind of important in those retro games and in today even is kind of the jump of a character. To go I think Mario was defined by tight controls and you can jump on a dime, but Sonic was a little bit floaty and you didn't know exactly where he was going to land. Shovel Knight has a good jump. How'd you guys get to that? Was there a lot of playing around? Was there a lot of debate, or did it just come together?
There wasn't too much debate. We pretty much knew what we wanted, which was like a weightier Mega Man jump, if that makes sense. So Mega Man or Shovel Knight has very little acceleration. He has, and when you jump, you can stop on a dime, which is pretty key to Mega Man style platforming. Which is what we were going for. And I guess we just wanted to make it, his gravity feel a little stronger, so he felt like his suit of armor was playing into his mobility. And maybe we might have fudged a little bit with how high he jumped, but I don't think too much. I think we pretty much had set, the set distance of tiles we wanted him to be jumping from the beginning.
Kind of speaking at the beginning, was there ever, or kind of at what point did you guys kind of look at each other and realize that Shovel Knight was going to be this huge hit, that it was going to resonate with fans?
I don't think we've reached that point yet. Yeah, it's hard to ever say that. We go in knowing this is something we want to make and we want to play, and we think other people will enjoy it. We were looking at the kind of games that were coming out. This was back at the beginning of 2013, and it was very, I think, let's see, what do I want to say? I guess we were playing a lot of these complicated experiences, and we wanted to make something simple. After playing so many complicated games, and it felt like it would be really refreshing to everyone playing games to see here's a run and jump game, right? With like one mechanic, the shovel, and like see and build all the complexity out of that. Like we thought that would be really refreshing to all these people playing the more complicated like AAA games that were coming out. And on top of that, like everyone was like Mega Man Legends had just gotten canceled. It was a very like, oh my God, where is Mega Man time? So that's sort of where we were coming from. Like we wanted to make that kind of game, and we just thought the audience would be there.
Yeah, I mean they definitely were, and I think you're the only person I know who's ever called Shovel Knight simple.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know some people have like complained about being hard. Have fans ever complained to you, or Yacht Club about
Oh
being
yeah.
difficult? Ask for an
Oh
easy mode.
yes, definitely people have complained about it being difficult. When I say it's simple, I don't mean it's not challenging. I think it's simple in its mechanics. It's simple in its, it takes about a second to learn all of the ability, all of Shovel Knight's core movement, right? You press left to right, A and B, and jump to jump and attack, and you're basically done, right? I think that's where the simplicity comes, as opposed to something like, an Assassin's Creed or a Grand Theft Auto where there's thousands of different controls and they're all different. They all change depending on the context.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand, and I think you guys were able to get a lot of variation and a lot of mechanics and a lot of interesting ways out of those kind of simple building blocks.
Yeah,
Um,
that was. I mean, that was the goal. It was building the complexity out of those simple beginnings, rather than having the complexity at the start.
so I don't know if this will be one question or two. For Sony and Microsoft, did they approach you for like Kratos and Battletoads, or did you approach them? Like, how did that conversation
No,
start?
I mean we approached them. We just said, hey, like we want to do, what we were trying to do on every platform, which is we wanted to create something unique and felt at home on that console. For the Wii U, we did Miiverse, and for 3DS, we did Street Pass. And we said, hey, what can we do on the Xbox and PlayStation? There isn't like a big, huge feature that we felt like really comfortable adding, and we thought, hey, a character inclusion might be the next best thing. So we went to Sony and Microsoft and said, hey, like, would you be willing to let us include a character? Like, here's a couple ideas, and they were both cool with it. It was way easier than you'd ever expect.
That's they're definitely glad to hear. You might not be able to answer this question. Were these your first choices?
Yes, they were our
Oh,
first choices.
fantastic. Um, and I know you kind of mentioned some of the extra features that were included in the Nintendo release. But I think quite frankly, some people are happier with the characters. Is there ever any discussion to maybe add a Mario or Link or Kirby to the Nintendo releases?
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to do something. It's like Nintendo's definitely a lot harder or a lot trickier to work with on that front, just because, they're really protective of their IPs and have been forever. So, I mean, if we can get something to work, we'd love to do something.
I know you guys are doing a lot. You got Plague Knight coming out later this year, and then I believe you guys are following that up with King Knight and Spectre Knight.
Yeah.
Are you, I know this is a lot to chew off right now, but are you going to go through the entire Order of No Quarter?
No, it's just those three. That it was part of our Kickstarter, so this we had a bunch of stretch goals which we didn't finish for Shovel Knight, and a few of them were to do playable boss campaigns, and the Kickstarter community actually voted for those three to be the ones that were the campaigns. So that's why we're doing those three, and then we're gonna do a battle mode and a body swap mode and a challenge mode. So all that's coming.
Yeah, definitely understand. I just didn't know if there's any talk afterwards. But yeah, definitely good on those Kickstarter goals, and kind of moving forward with that. Um, I know there's a lot of kind of harkening back to the old Nintendo era. And in those games, they always had some like crazy secrets I remember the first time somebody talked about a Hadouken in Mega Man X. I thought they were crazy person.
Yeah, that is a pretty good one.
Are there any secrets like that in Shovel Knight that nobody's discovered yet? Like, have you guys been waiting for somebody to unlock something in there?
I don't think so. I think everything's been found at this point. I don't think everything's like common knowledge, but there's definitely no crazy Hadouken secrets. There's a lot of like Easter eggs and that kind of thing that aren't found that much, but I don't think there's anything that no one has seen. I mean, it's possible one of the cheat codes hasn't been discovered its full use. I mean, we have 300 of them, and I don't know if anyone's gone and like figured out what each one does exactly, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff to find for sure.
300. I mean, you definitely just set a benchmark for the game FAQs community to find out and make sure they get all those.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a list on IGN and they have like maybe half of them figured out, but I'm not sure like what the status of that is now. But a lot of them are so boring that I'm sure people don't even don't even bother to figure out what they do. It's like, oh, automatically beat up to level 5, automatically beat up to level 6, that kind of thing.
You kind of mentioned Easter eggs, and I'm not asking for specifics, but are there going to be any special PlayStation or Xbox Easter eggs in those releases?
Maybe tiny ones. I don't know if you call them Easter eggs. I mean, the way you get to Kratos, and the way you get to the Battletoads is like is pretty secrety to begin with. And then there's a lot of cool stuff I think there, but other than that, it's going to be pretty much the same kind of content. The Vita might have a couple. But yeah, generally not. There's not very much.
Have you had a chance to play Shovel Knight on Vita? Like, do you think it feels at home on there? Maybe even better on a handheld than the
Oh,
console counterpart.
yeah, I love it. I love it on the Vita. I mean, yeah, we're right now. I'm trying to optimize it. So there's a few spots where the frame rate isn't as good, but it's like, I mean, overall, it looks so beautiful on that screen, and it plays really well. I mean, I really like the Vita D-pad and buttons. They feel really nice. So I mean, I like it a lot on there. I generally like portable systems, so it makes me very happy to see it on the Vita.
Um, will Shovel Knight become a mermaid?
Who knows? I mean, he could already be a mermaid, right? You don't. Who knows?
I did see a fan theory that Shovel Knight's a fish creature
Yeah,
floating around.
yeah. That's actually so. In the game, there's an Easter egg. If you sit in the armory, the town, the second town in the game, and if you sit in like the general where people walk by, the NPCs walk by for a while, like after 5 minutes or so, randomly after 5 minutes or so, a character dressed as Shovel Knight without the helmet on will run by, and if you and he has a fish head, and if you talk to him, he says, "Oh, feels great to get the it feels great to take that helmet off." So it's jokingly alluding to the fact that Shovel Knight could be a fish.
Is that a very Samus Metroid thing that you guys kind of intentionally put out there to keep Shovel Knight in armor the whole time, or
I don't, not really. It wasn't, we weren't really thinking of it like that. I think we were just thinking that's sort of was Shovel Knight's look, and I guess we didn't want, I guess we didn't feel like it was right for this game at least to, like make him, say like, oh, this is what he looks like under the, helmet. It's like we wanted that iconic look to be what you saw at all times.
I know that you and the whole Yacht Club team is really kind of grassroots movements. You guys do a lot of interviews with sites. I don't know if you guys ever really turn anybody down. Like, is that kind of a conscious decision, or just trying to get back to the community, or do you guys
Yeah,
have
I
any?
mean, Yeah, I think both. Like we think it's important to, get information out there about how games are made and what goes into making a game. Like when we made the Kickstarter, it's so clear making the Kickstarter that people really have a very limited set of knowledge, for what makes a game, what a budget is for a game, how many people it takes to make a game, how long it takes to make a game, like everything that goes into a game, people are pretty unclear about, right? Other than like I know what a good game looks like. People are pretty good when it comes to that. So it's like, any chance we have to let people, to spread the word on like what goes into a game and how to make a game is we felt like was really important because it was something that felt missing from, the society. And when everyone, when so many games are going through Kickstarter, it feels like people need that information more than ever, right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely appreciate you, like I said, taking the time to talk with me about it. Um, for those would be designers out there who are just starting, do you have any advice or tips that maybe you wish somebody gave you?
My advice is always the same, which is just start making games right now and don't stop. Like the best thing you can do to learn how to make games is to actually make them. And it doesn't matter like how crappy the game is you make, but like starting a game and going to completion is like so important, makes you learn so many things. Even if it's like ripping off something like Snake or, Pac-Man or Tetris, something like pretty simple, and you could like copy and paste a tutorial off the internet. It's like learning all the gears that go into making a game is really important because there's so much there. There's so much that would surprise you that goes into making it.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, like, what was your first kind of at home trial or?
The first game I ever made was Snake, and the second game I made was air hockey game. Um,
Did you ever end
yeah.
up showing this to the team? Did you guys ever like compare war stories or?
Oh no, I've never shown that to anyone. Yeah. That was a long time ago. I don't know if anyone else has ever shown anyone their like first games. Um, I know, like Sean used to make games. He used to like try to make, he'd make like Mario or Zelda 2 in order to like teach himself how to design mobility, if that makes sense. So he'd see, oh, like this is why when Zelda 2 hits a character's shield, this is why he like gets knocked back this far. And when he recreated it, he could like tweak those numbers and see why they did it that way, right? Yeah. There's so many lessons you can learn, like something like input buffering in Pac-Man is really a really obtuse lesson, I think. Um, like if in Pac-Man when you press left, right? You can press left at any time. You don't have to press it when you get to the opening to turn left. You can just press it and then he'll turn at the next left if there is somewhere you can turn left, right?
Right.
And something like that makes the gameplay like hundreds of thousands of times better. But it's not something you'd ever like intuit, I think. And learn like being able to make games and learn those lessons to see like all these like little, I don't know, secrets of the trade, I guess, is really important.
No, I mean that's great advice, and and I know those first couple games that you create really aren't for anybody else; they're just for you as kind of learning tools. Just like first time an artist picks up tries to sketch, or the first couple stories you draft, it's really not going to be for the main consumption.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you gotta be willing to start doing it and start failing. I think that's important in any artistry.
All right, I got a couple reader questions I wanted to hit you up with.
Okay.
All right, I'm sure this is the first time anybody's ever asked you this. Kenny wants to know: will Shovel Knight see a sequel?
We would love to make one. Right now we're making all the stretch goal stuff. So like when we get to the end of that, we'll sort of figure out what the next step is. But I would love. We created Shovel Knight with the intention of it being a franchise, and that was the goal. like we wanted to make Shovel Knight forever and ever and ever. But in a year we might all be like, "Oh my God, I hate Shovel Knight. We've been working on it forever. Let's never touch it again." So I guess we'll see what happens.
I'm sure this was really early, but do you think it would be Shovel Knight 2, or like would you go to like Super Shovel Knight and
I
kind of?
mean, we've talked about a lot of things. We're not really sure what I mean, we really want to go through the franchise, um, like the eras, but but I think most of all we want to make Shovel Knight 64. Like we're all dying to make that game so badly. But that's like such a huge undertaking, and we need a much bigger team, and it'd be really hard. So yeah, we might go to Super Shovel Knight next, or yeah, Shovel Knight 2 might be like more appropriate. I guess we have to figure out like what kind of game we wanted to make before we just jump. Like we shouldn't decide like the topic, I guess, before the the gameplay.
Well, if you're taking boats, I want a Shovel Knight RPG.
Oh God, I want a Shovel Knight RPG. I want a Shovel Knight RPG. I want a Shovel Knight like Sim Tower. I want like a Shovel Knight. I want every kind of Shovel Knight game possible.
Guillermo asks, he wants to know how do you test games, and when do you know that they're ready? You guys are small, like you said. I think you guys have about 6 people. So do you guys test everything in house, or?
We pretty much test everything in house. We have a few friends that have come and test for us, that are either not very good at testing at all, or actual or professional QA testers. So a few people have come help, and I guess we just play the crap out of it and keep trying to find bugs. Um, Before the game came out, we had maybe 50 people on Steam that were like our close friends play through it. And it's just until it feels like there are no issues left. And there's always going to be bugs, there's no way to avoid it. But at some point, it feels like I think we're running out, It's like we can't find any very easily, but you might, like, when you get to the end of the project, you might find 10 bugs every day. And at some point, you're going to find like one bug every 4 days, right? And like at that point, you're pretty much done.
Definitely sounds good. I mean, people are still finding bugs. I see like these weird Super Nintendo glitches from 20 years ago.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Where it's like,
Yeah, no.
whoever thought about going up and down the stairs 99 times before?
Yeah, bugs are like they're pretty unavoidable, and like being able to like hack games like that, like Super Mario World, like programming it or whatever, it's like that kind of stuff will always exist, just because of the nature of making programs, I guess.
Donnie kind of asks a multi-tiered question. How did Kickstarter work out for you guys in the end? Will you do it again?
Find it.
And were the stretch goals daunting? Which I think you kind of touched upon in the fact that you guys are still coding through them and getting those out.
Yeah, so first off, the Kickstarter went really well, I would say. I mean, this game wouldn't exist without the Kickstarter. So, in that regard, we couldn't be happier. But at the same time, doing the Kickstarter is like a huge amount of work, right? And a huge amount of work that you might not necessarily do in making a game to begin with. Things like managing that community, keeping everyone up to date, building things into the game based on the backers. Like for example, like the Hall of Champions in Shovel Knight, where we had 200 pixel faced of the people that backed at a certain level, right? That was a ton of work that we wouldn't have had to do if we didn't do a Kickstarter, right? So, there's definitely like upsides and downsides, but I guess we aren't really sure if we're going to do another one. We've talked about like it would be really exciting to just like, build a game in secret and reveal it at some point, like the normal way. But at the same time, like we really liked the Kickstarter experience. Like we liked being in community with all these people while making a game. It was really exciting to have everyone think like this is what Shovel Knight is. And then when we released Shovel Knight, I think we blew people's expectations away because it was so much bigger, right? because it was so much bigger than the simple $75,000 Kickstarter that they originally backed. So I mean, that part's really fun. and I, and like, we had like these design meetings where people, saw what we were doing, in the middle of the project, which was really fun. So there's all these elements, that are good, but there's things like, having a tiny studio of 6 people ship out, 1,500 physical packages to people is just like not fun, right? It's like, so I think if we did another Kickstarter, we'd find a way to do it so it fit more with, uh, you know, made more sense in terms of time and schedule, and made sure we made the best game possible while like avoiding the things hopefully that we didn't like as much from a Kickstarter.
Definitely understand. I think you guys do a really good job with this initial release. Um, Kim Schler from IGN, my IGN community, kind of wants to know what was the most difficult part of making a retro style game in the modern age.
Yeah, I mean the most difficult part, what I mean, was balancing like people's expectations for what a retro game is and people's uh expectations now for modern games. So for example, like I mean a classic example is like the difficulty in a retro title is like people just expect it to be way harder, right? And in a modern game, you don't want games to be that unfair and cheap and difficult. So like finding the right balance where, hey, like we need to get Shovel Knight so it's not NES hard, but it's still challenging enough to reward those people that play that game, was like the kind of constant balance, constant fight we were having internally and I think externally to try to find what would make people the happiest. So I mean, but through that tension is where like a lot of the creative ideas came, like, the destructible checkpoints was born out of wanting to find a good balance between people that liked that really hard gameplay and people that wanted, a more easy to pick up and play game.
All right. And final question, kind of a tradition. Um, Zach or Zeber from the My IGN community posted a daily question, so you're gonna get that thrown at you.
Okay.
And it just happens to be what franchise should have a Lego game?
What franchise should have a Lego game? Is it any franchise in the world or is it a video game franchise?
Any franchise in the world to have a Lego video game.
Um, there's not a Minecraft Lego game, right?
No, no, not yet. They're so slow.
I mean that I just want to say that because it seems like it'd be really weird, like to have like the Lego video game be a Lego video game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. I thought you would say Shovel Knight. I thought this was gonna be a gimme.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I just didn't want to say my own game, obviously. Yeah, a Shovel Knight Lego game would be incredible. Oh my God.
Well, maybe they're listening and we can start getting that in motion.
Yeah, yeah, Lego Corporation. Is that the name of the company? I don't know. But they should get on this for sure.
All right. I definitely appreciate it. Is there anything else that you would like to add? Any
Uh,
secrets you want to reveal? Releasing
nothing.
information for the first time?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, Shovel Knight is available today on Wii U, 3DS, Windows, Mac, and Linux. Look for it on the PlayStation Network for PS3, Vita, and PS4 on April 21st. It's coming out to Xbox One soon. And if you already have Shovel Knight, you can download the free expansion for Plague Knight later this year.
Yep.
Well, thank you, David. It was definitely a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you out there for listening. I hope this helped you guys with your Shovel Knight IQ. Level up, friends.